Does have ties to Muslim extremists? I don't know.
In early January 2021, a summit took place in Saudi Arabia, dubbed as the Persian Gulf Reconciliation Summit. For the first time since the blockade began in 2017, the Qatari Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani arrived in the northwestern city of Al Ula. The meeting was supposed to have sealed the reconciliation between Qatar and the PGCC, including countries that have been boycotting and blockading it, including UAE, Bahrain and Saudi Arabia.
اليوم بحكمة قيادات المجلس وأيضا الأشقاء في جمهورية مصر العربية هو طي كامل لنقاط الخلاف وعودة كاملة للعلاقات الدبلوماسية وجميع ما يخدم إن شاء الله العلاقات بين الدول الأعضاء وأيضا مصر، وسوف يكون لبنة قوية ومهمة إن شاء الله لمستقبل المنطقة واستقرارها.
Member countries signed what was dubbed the so-called Solidarity and Stability Agreement. The text hasn't been made public, but it aims to overcome deep rifts in the 40-year history of the PGCC. The longer-term impacts of the regional rift are likely to take considerable time to heal and cannot go away with the stroke of a pen. Looking at the bigger picture, a crisis that began with former US President Donald Trump coming into office seemingly ended just before he left the White House. After all, the outbreak of the 2017 blockade happened 2 weeks after Trump visited Riyadh on his first foreign trip as US president. The irony of all of this is that during the meeting, Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner was present. The Saudi monarch was not in attendance at the summit, and this is unprecedented. Thus, the king's son, Mohammed bin Salman, attended and hosted the summit instead of him, leading many to speculate that he just might be crowned soon. On June 5, 2017, Saudi Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Egypt announced a blockade on Qatar.
العلاقات الدبلوماسية والقنصلية مع دولة قطر، كما قررت إغلاق كافة المنافذ البرية والبحرية والجوية ومنع العبور في الأراضي والأجواء والمياه الإقليمية السعودية، والبدء بالإجراءات القانونية الفورية للتفاهم مع الدول الشقيقة والصديقة والشركات الدولية لتطبيق ذات الإجراءات بأسرع وقت ممكن لكافة وسائل النقل من وإلى دولة قطر.
Just a few days later, on June 13, 2017, while on a visit to Washington, Saudi Foreign Minister Adil Al-Jubeir created even over the blockade.
There is no blockade of Qatar. Qatar is free to go. The ports are open, the airports are open. What we have done is we have denied them use of our airspace, and this is our sovereign right. The limitation on the use of Saudi airspace is only limited to Qatari Airways or Qatari-owned aircraft, not anybody else.
Then on June 22, 2017, Saudi Arabia and its allies issued a threatening 13-point ultimatum to Qatar. It was the price for lifting a trade and diplomatic embargo of the country in a marked escalation of the Persian Gulf's worst diplomatic dispute in decades. The list included curbing of diplomatic ties with Iran, sever all ties, organizations, shut down Al Jazeera and its affiliate stations. Shut down news outlets that Qatar funds directly and indirectly, including Arabi 21, Rast, Al Arabi Al Jadid and Middle East Eye. Immediately terminate the Turkish military presence in Qatar and end any joint military cooperation with Turkey inside Qatar. Stop all means of funding for individuals, groups or organizations that have been designated as terrorists by Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt, Bahrain, the US and other countries. Hand over terrorist figures, end interference in sovereign countries' internal affairs. Stop the political opposition in Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Egypt and Bahrain, compensation for loss of life and other financial losses caused by Qatar's policies. Consent to monthly audits of the demands for the first year, align itself with the other Persian Gulf and Arab countries militarily, politically, socially and economically. Agree to all the demands within 10 days. The 10 days ended without Qatar complying. In fact, Qatar rejected the demands. Qatar's Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani on July 1, 2017, said that everyone is aware that these demands are meant to infringe the sovereignty of the state of Qatar, and impose auditing and probation mechanism for Qatar. Just a few years while discussing the Persian Gulf, spat at the 2020 Munich Security Conference, Qatar's foreign minister said that the blockade was clearly not Qatar's fault.
I think now it's been almost 3 years since the crisis started. We were not the perpetrator of that crisis. And we've been very open and very clear that we are open to any genuine intention to resolve this problem. And we demonstrated this, in fact, when there was an opening end of last year, in November, end of last year.
Tensions begin as far back as 1986, when Qatar and Bahrain Zubarah and the Janan Islands. In 1992, a border clash between Saudi Arabia and Qatar resulted in 3 deaths. In 1996, Qatar and Saudi Arabia signed a border demarcation agreement. In 2000, Saudi Arabia boycotted an organization of the Islamic Conference Summit held in Doha in protest of Qatar's trade relations with Israel. In 2002, Saudi Arabia withdrew its ambassador from Doha in reaction to controversial comments that were made on the Al Jazeera satellite channel by a Saudi dissident critical of the Saudi ruling family. In 2006, Saudi Arabia withdrew its approval for Qatari plans to build a gas pipeline to Kuwait, which would have passed through Saudi territorial waters. 2010, Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, then Emir of Qatar, pardoned an unknown number of Saudi citizens accused of taking part in a coup against him. In 2011, Saudi Arabia and Qatar backed different sides in the unrest that gripped the Arab world, and tensions began to surface. In March 2014, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Bahrain suspended ties with Qatar over its support for the Muslim Brotherhood, a group labeled a terrorist organization by both Saudi Arabia and the UAE. In November 2014, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Bahrain agreed to return their ambassadors to Doha after 8 months of tension and frozen relations between the 3 countries and Qatar. After that, Qatar sent forces to join the Saudi-led military coalition in Yemen, hosted King Salman on a state visit to Doha in December 2016, and ratified GCC-wide security cooperation agreements. But the blockade against it commenced anyways in 2017. The current blockade may be over, but differences still linger, especially competition over the leadership of the PGCC. The fact that Saudi Arabia and its allies decided to end the blockade on Doha, adhering to the so-called list of 13 demands, shows Riyadh is the one who's really isolated on a regional and possibly on an international level. This is especially true with the change of administration in the White House. The question now is whether Qatar would benefit from reconciliation in a Greater Persian Gulf Cooperation Council role, a role that angered the Persian Gulf Arab countries that surrounded it in the first place. And even more importantly will the reconciliation last?